Right now, if you get sick, you do something so normal it barely feels real. You swallow a pill with water, and you expect your body to obey. But if you traveled back through most of human history and did that in front of your ancestors, they'd think you were performing magic. Because for them, medicine wasn't a product with a label. It was a guess you made with your environment. It was whatever you could find, whatever your community remembered, and whatever your culture believed might work, because getting sick didn't mean you'd be uncomfortable for a week. It could mean you were done. A fever could kill a child in days. A small cut could rot. A tooth infection could spread until your whole body gave up. So ancient humans didn't ask, "What medicine should I buy?" They asked, "What can I do right now with what I have?" And the answer, across thousands of years and dozens of civilizations, keeps repeating the same pattern. Ancient medicine was built out of four things: plants, mixtures, ritual, and experience. Start before writing. Before doctors had names. Imagine you're a human tens of thousands of years ago. Someone in your group is injured. Someone's stomach is twisting. Someone has a cough that won't stop. You don't know what germs are, but you do know patterns. You notice that some leaves soothe skin. Some barks dull pain. Some bitter brews calm nausea. Some sticky substances protect wounds. You also notice something brutal. People who get care survive more often than people who don't. And that might be the first true medicine in human history: nursing. Keeping someone warm. Feeding them. Cleaning wounds. Protecting them while they heal. Archaeology even hints at this. We find ancient skeletons with injuries that should have killed them, yet the bones show healing. That means the person survived long enough and was supported long enough for recovery. In other words, medicine begins as a social decision. This person is worth saving. But humans don't stop at care. Because once you have fire, containers, and plant knowledge, you can turn the landscape into a pharmacy. Ancient people took medicine in a lot of ways. They chewed plants, drank infusions, ate mixtures in food, rubbed oils and pastes into skin, packed poultices onto wounds, inhaled smoke and aromas, and rinsed mouths and cuts. If that sounds like cooking, that's because it basically was. A potion is just a soup with a goal. Then writing shows up, and suddenly medicine can become official. In early Mesopotamia, some of the earliest written medical traditions mix physical remedies with spoken incantations. And to modern viewers that seems ridiculous until you remember what sickness feels like without science. If your child is sick and you don't know why, you don't want one tool, you want all tools. So a treatment might be a herb mixture in beer or oil, plus a ritual meant to push the illness out. It wasn't science versus magic. It was cover every possibility. In a world where death can arrive through a tiny cut, you don't care what category the cure belongs to. You care whether it works. Now go to Egypt, because Egypt gives us some of the clearest evidence that ancient medicine wasn't always random guessing. Egyptian medical texts record symptoms, treatments, and recipes. People hear ancient medicine and imagine chaos, but Egypt often looks organized, almost bureaucratic. Treatments could be mixtures prepared in repeatable ways, and they used carriers that make practical sense. Honey, oils, and beer or wine show up again and again. Not because Egyptians were obsessed with snacks, but because these things are useful. Honey sticks to wounds and creates a protective layer. Oils carry plant compounds and spread easily. Fermented drinks can extract ingredients and preserve mixtures longer than water. Ancient people didn't know the word antibacterial, but they could see that some methods led to better outcomes. So when you ask, how did they take medicine? In Egypt, the answer is, they took it like recipes: mixed, measured, applied, repeated. Sometimes swallowed, sometimes rubbed on, sometimes used as a rinse. And often done under the authority of a healer who knew the traditional steps. Then you reach Greece. where medicine splits into two parallel worlds. On one side, you have temple healing people traveling to sanctuaries, performing rituals, sleeping in sacred spaces, hoping for dreams or divine guidance. And on the other side, you get the early rise of natural medicine observation, diet, regimen, the idea that illness can have natural causes and natural treatments. This is where the vibe starts to feel surprisingly modern: rest, food, environment, routine. Not because they had our science, but because they were paying attention. And here's the interesting part. For ordinary people, these two systems weren't enemies. If you're sick, you might try the temple and the herb mixture. You might pray and change your diet. You might do the ritual and apply the ointment. Again, cover every possibility. Rome takes all of this and scales it up. Because Rome doesn't just inherit Greek ideas, it builds an empire, and empires need systems. Roman medicine becomes more standardized in armies and cities. There are military medics, practical treatments, and massive collections of knowledge about plants and substances. In the Roman world, you see the rise of big medicine catalogs: what works for pain, wounds, digestion, sleep, and infection. Not perfectly, not safely, but clearly with a goal: collect and organize. And Romans also understood something that modern people forget. Medicine isn't only pills. It's infrastructure. Clean water, baths, sanitation, diet, rest, these things keep people alive. Even when the cure is weak, reducing exposure and improving hygiene changes survival. That's medicine too, just not the kind that comes in a bottle. Now, the question everyone asks: did any of it work? The honest answer is yes, sometimes. Some ancient remedies were useless. Some were dangerous. But some ingredients used across ancient cultures have real effects. Honey as wound dressing can help protect tissue. Certain barks contain pain-relieving compounds. Some plant resins seal wounds. And certain sedating plants were used for sleep and pain relief. Ancient people didn't invent modern drugs, but they lived in a world where nature already contained chemistry, and trial and error could discover pieces of it. And even when the chemistry wasn't strong, the system mattered: cleaning, covering, resting, isolating, caring. A community with a medical tradition is a community. That doesn't leave the sick person alone with the problem. So what did ancient medicine really look like? It looked like a human being trying to control a body they didn't fully understand. It was nature plus tradition, remedy plus ritual, observation plus authority. And here's the final perspective shift. Modern medicine feels purely scientific because we're surrounded by labs and labels. But the emotional impulse is the same as it was 5,000 years ago. When your body fails, you reach for whatever your world says counts as medicine. The difference is that today, the world is built on controlled testing. Back then, it was built on memory, culture, and survival pressure. If you want to dig deeper, I'll link sources and references in the description. And if you enjoy Ancient Daily Life Explained, simply subscribe. New videos regularly. Sources always cited.